What if everything Meghan Markle thought she knew wasn't true? What if the person she trusted most, her own mother, Doria Ragland, suddenly dropped a truth so shocking it left Meghan in tears, shaking, and questioning everything about Archie and Lilibet? Tonight, we dive into the confession that has the royal world spinning, insiders scrambling, and Meghan facing a reality she never expected. Stay with us, because every twist in this story is wilder than the last, and the final revelation might change the Markle royal narrative forever. There are moments in a public figure's life that feel too big, too emotional, too intimate to ever reach the public eye. Moments that belong behind closed doors, whispered between two people who trust each other completely. But sometimes those moments find a way out, because of tension, because of honesty, or because someone, somewhere, finally reaches their breaking point. And that brings us to what insiders are calling the most emotionally explosive moment in Meghan Markle's life since stepping away from royal duties. A private conversation with her mother, Doria Ragland, that ended with Meghan in tears, and with a truth surfacing that no one, not Meghan, not Harry, not even palace watchers, ever saw coming. For months, speculation around Archie and Lilibet has been relentless. Conversations about lineage, heritage, titles, security, and public identity have swirled around the children since the day they were born. But this new revelation doesn't come from the palace. It doesn't come from the media. It doesn't come from anonymous royal aides. It comes from Doria, the one figure in Meghan's life who has always seemed unshakably loyal, grounded, and protective. But according to those closest to the Sussex circle, something shifted. A moment arrived when silence was no longer an option, and what Doria finally said changed everything. To understand the weight of this shocking moment, we need to step back and look at the months leading up to it. Friends say Meghan had been increasingly anxious, increasingly protective, and increasingly emotional about her children. Not just because of the endless scrutiny, that part she's learned to brace for, but because of something more personal. Something deeper. Something she allegedly began sensing in her own mother's behavior. Doria Ragland has always been known as the calm one, the steady one, the quiet presence with a gentle smile. But this year, insiders say, Meghan noticed cracks. A hesitation. A shift in tone. A strange discomfort whenever Archie's or Lilibet's names came up. Meghan repeatedly asked, "Is everything okay, Mom?" And each time, Doria brushed it off. But as Meghan later described to a friend, it felt like her mother was carrying a truth she didn't want to share. And the moment finally came in a quiet afternoon conversation in Montecito, a conversation Meghan reportedly couldn't stop replaying afterward. It started normally, tea, a check-in about work, a laugh about something Harry said that morning. But then the children came up, specifically something Archie had asked Meghan about his heritage. Meghan recalled the conversation to Doria, expecting another warm response. Instead, Doria went silent. A long silence. A silence that Meghan felt in her bones, according to an insider. And then Doria said the words that sparked the emotional storm. "Meg, there's something I need to tell you about Archie and Lily. Something I should have said a long time ago." That one sentence changed the entire energy in the room. Meghan froze. She later said it felt like her heartbeat stopped and restarted all at once. She had no idea what was coming, and her mind immediately went to the darkest possibilities. Was it medical? Was it family history? Was it something involving Thomas Markle? Something involving the palace? Something involving the children's birth circumstances? Doria hesitated, and that only deepened Meghan's panic. The woman who never hesitates, who always chooses her words carefully but confidently, was struggling. And then came the truth. A truth that Meghan described as shocking, overwhelming, and emotionally devastating. According to insiders, Doria revealed previously undisclosed information about Meghan's own family background, information that directly affects what Meghan has told the world about her children's lineage and identity. This wasn't about royals. This wasn't about titles. This wasn't about public image. It was about private family truths, truths Doria had kept to herself for decades. In that moment, Meghan burst into tears. Not dramatic tears. Not angry tears. But the quiet, stunned, collapsing kind. The kind that come when a foundation you thought was solid suddenly shifts beneath your feet. Doria, seeing the emotional unraveling, immediately reached out, trying to comfort Meghan. But insiders say Meghan pulled back at first, not because she was angry at her mother, but because she needed to process what she had just heard. And here's where the twist comes in, one no one saw coming. Doria didn't reveal this truth because she wanted to. She revealed it because she had been approached, yes, approached, by someone who threatened to share the information publicly if she didn't. That's right. This wasn't a voluntary confession. This wasn't part of a heartfelt mother-daughter reunion. It was damage control, forced by a looming threat from someone outside the family. Someone who knew too much. Someone who wanted something in return. Friends say that when Meghan realized this wasn't just a family secret, that it was part of a larger scheme involving leverage, blackmail, and an attempt to profit off her children's heritage, her emotional breakdown shifted into something else. Fear. Then anger. Then steel-hard determination. But what exactly was the truth? While insiders are being extremely careful not to reveal specifics, what they describe suggests the revelation involves Meghan's biological lineage and unexplored aspects of her family history that significantly shift what Meghan believed about Archie's and Lilibet's heritage. One source explained it this way. Meghan thought she knew her full story. She didn't. And when your story changes, your children's story changes too. Another source said, this explains why the palace remained strangely silent on some areas. They may have known more than Meghan realized. And yet another hinted. Doria wasn't hiding it to be manipulative, she was hiding it to protect Meghan from someone else's wrongdoing. The bigger question is this. Who approached Doria? And why now? That part is where the story takes an even darker turn. One version says it was someone connected to Thomas Markle, not Thomas himself, but someone who had access to old letters, documents, and family records. Another suggests it was someone from Meghan's childhood past, someone who resurfaced with questionable motives. But one theory stands out above the rest, a theory insiders say Meghan herself found disturbingly plausible. Someone connected to a media organization, someone who had been digging into the Markle family tree for years, may have discovered something and used it as leverage. Meaning the confession wasn't just emotional, it was strategic. Because if a truth about Meghan's lineage were to be twisted, weaponized, or sensationalized before she even had a chance to explain it to her own children, it could create a media nightmare unlike anything the Sussexes have faced so far. And that's saying a lot. After the confession, Meghan reportedly went upstairs, closed the door, and stayed silent for nearly an hour. When she finally came back down, she wasn't crying anymore. She wasn't panicked. She wasn't shaken. She was determined. One insider described her demeanor as a woman who had been pushed into a corner and was now ready to push back harder than ever before. She told Doria something that instantly changed the tone of the conversation. I'm not going to let anyone use this against my children. And just like that, the emotional breakdown transformed into a plan. The Sussex Circle has now been put on alert. Lawyers have been looped in. Investigators have been consulted. Harry has been fully briefed. And Meghan, insiders say, is preparing for the possibility that this story, the real story, might need to be addressed publicly before someone else tries to hijack the narrative. But even as Meghan braces herself, the emotional weight hasn't disappeared. She is reportedly heartbroken that her mother carried this truth alone for so long. Heartbroken that someone tried to exploit it. And heartbroken that Archie and Lilibet might one day learn that a deeply personal part of their identity became a bargaining chip for outsiders. Here's where the story takes yet another twist, one that suggests this saga is far from over. There are whispers that the person who approached Doria wasn't acting alone. That this is part of a coordinated effort, not from the palace, but from people who benefit financially every time Meghan's name breaks the internet. A manufactured scandal. A timed revelation. A calculated attempt to destabilize the Sussex brand at a moment when Meghan is preparing a new chapter, new projects, new ventures, a new public direction. And what better way to sabotage someone than to hit them in the one place they are most vulnerable? Their children. Insiders say Harry is furious. Not at Doria, and not even at the truth itself, but at the idea that someone targeted Meghan's emotional connection to her children. Harry reportedly told a friend, "They crossed a line. And now we respond." So where does this leave Meghan and Doria? Surprisingly, closer than ever. Meghan understands now why Doria stayed quiet for so long. She understands the pressure, the fear, the desire to protect her daughter from a complicated family history. But Meghan also understands something else. This truth, whatever it is, won't stay hidden forever. And when the time comes to tell Archie and Lilibet, Meghan wants the narrative to come from her, not from tabloids, opportunists, or strangers. In the days since the confession, Montecito insiders report a shift in Meghan's energy. A seriousness, a new protectiveness, a readiness to step into a role she never imagined, the keeper of a family secret that reshapes her children's story. But what makes this moment so powerful, so emotionally gripping, is that it shows a side of Meghan the public rarely sees. The daughter, not the Duchess. The mother, not the celebrity. The woman caught between two identities, her past and her future, trying to navigate how both will shape the lives of Archie and Lilibet. And just when you think the emotional journey ends there, another twist surfaces. Word has gotten back to the mysterious individual who pressured Doria, and they are not done. They reportedly believe they still hold more leverage, that they can still extract more value, that the truth Doria revealed is only one piece of a much larger puzzle. Meaning this isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning. A beginning filled with unanswered questions, emotional fallout, and the looming threat of more revelations. But for now, one thing is clear. Meghan is no longer the woman overwhelmed by shocking news. She's the woman preparing to take control of the narrative, to protect her children, support her mother, and confront the forces trying to weaponize her past. And when she decides to speak, publicly, emotionally, and in her full truth, the world will be listening. Because this story isn't just about lineage. It isn't just about identity. It isn't just about secrets. It's about a mother who learned something that broke her, and then rebuilt herself to protect the two people she loves most. And that, more than anything, is the reason this story is only going to grow.